The lights at Jimmy Kimmel Live are dimmer tonight, not technically, just in feeling. Like someone turned down the contrast to soften everything, but it only cuts deeper inside. The air is thicker than it should be. The studio is packed, but the applause is cautious, restrained, as if each clap is a tentative step into the unknown. Faces show a mix of anticipation and awkward unease. The audience is waiting for Johnny Depp. Not the character, not the actor, the man who's been talked about for too long but rarely heard. When he steps out from backstage, no one screams. Just the sound of applause, slightly forced, slightly out of sync. His walk is unsteady, but not broken. He moves like he's remembering why he's here. Dressed in something genre-defying, a soft scarf, gloves, worn boots. His hair is slightly messy, as if he slept through half the show and showed up only for the important part. He holds a hat in one hand. The other seems empty. But it feels like he's carrying something heavy. He approaches the chair not as a guest, but as someone entering an empty room after a long trial. He sits, slightly swaying. His face shows no smile, no exhaustion, no aggression. Just a look. Long, sidelong, searching, as if he's still deciding whether to speak at all. Kimmel, on the other hand, is in top form. Clean smile, practiced pose, the gaze of a man who can keep the energy up, even on a minefield. He tosses out the first pitch, a joke about how Depp looks like he escaped from the set of a movie no one's announced yet, about the hat, the scarf, the style stuck between eras. There's laughter in the room, but it's mechanical. People seem to be testing. Is it okay to laugh? Depp nods. Doesn't laugh, doesn't speak. Just a slight head movement, acknowledging the joke as a form, not its substance. Kimmel presses on, lightly, at his usual pace. He talks about the film Depp is promoting, an independent drama shot in France. A story about a musician who lost his voice and doesn't want it back. A movie no one expected, but which has suddenly become an event. Kimmel speaks of it with a touch of surprise, as if the project itself is a defiance of the industry. Depp looks at him calmly. Too calmly. And then, without breaking the pause, says that a voice can be lost twice. First, physically, then when no one wants to listen anymore. Silence follows, and it's not necessarily an enemy. The audience is quiet. A few clap alone. Some exchange glances. This isn't the line they expected. This isn't promo. This isn't an interview. It's something else. Kimmel acts like everything's fine. He nods, smiles, moves on. He talks about Depp's return, about headlines, past years, what it's like to be back. His tone is soft but pressing. Like a surgeon, he tries to cut into the topic without drawing blood, but the blade is already out. Depp responds with the same softness, laced with steel. He says there's no such thing as a return, only an exit, from a room, from a country, from yourself. He says he's not returning, just moving forward, because otherwise, you're standing still. And they say it's easier to aim at a stationary target. The room freezes again. No laughter, just heavy attention. In the control room, movement. One producer signals, another whispers to an assistant. Cameras catch close-ups. Kimmel's face, tenser than before. Depp's face, with no hint of strain. Kimmel decides it's time to lighten things up. He talks about memes, TikTok, how Depp's voice has become the sound of millions of videos, how his phrases go viral online, even when he's silent. He jokes that maybe this is the real superpower, turning a pause into a trend. Depp smiles. For the first time, faintly. He says silence is the only thing they haven't banned yet. For now. The audience erupts, not with laughter, with recognition. Some stand and clap, some laugh, some don't. A fault line starts moving through the rows. This isn't just a reaction anymore. It's a choice. Kimmel senses it. He shifts course. He asks if Depp thinks people expect too much, that the public wants an actor to be pure, an ideal, an icon, not a person. His tone is sympathetic, almost protective, but there's an irony that's hard to miss. Depp looks at the audience for a long time. Then, at Kimmel. He says the public isn't to blame. People want truth. They're just not used to it without editing. He says truth without music sounds different, messier, harder, and shows built on laughter aren't built to handle it. Because truth isn't a format. The room hums again. Cameras shake. Producers signal. The director waves. 30 seconds to commercial. Kimmel raises a hand, asking for time. He looks at his cards but doesn't read them. He looks at Johnny, as if, for the first time, he doesn't know what to say. Depp leans forward slightly. His voice is quiet. He says that if they invite you to speak, but demand you be convenient, it's not a conversation. It's a performance, and he's lived in other people's scripts for too long. The lights flicker. The camera pulls back. The host says something about, "We'll be right back after a short break," but the words drown, because the show has already veered onto a different track, and the audience knows it, and Johnny knows it, and Kimmel is just starting to understand. The return from commercial doesn't feel like a return, more like an attempt to glue a shattered cup and pretend it never cracked. The studio lights are even again, cameras stabilized. The sound engineer adjusts the mic balance, but the audience is different. People sit closer to the edges of their seats. There's no chatter in the air, only expectation. A thin current of tension runs through the rows, along the cables and stalls at the stage. Kimmel comes back with a forced light joke, something about how it's good there's no mood detector in the studio, or a siren would be blaring. The audience reacts, but weakly. Laughter doesn't rise above chins. Johnny Depp sits as calmly as before, as if the commercial wasn't a pause, but an unnecessary cut in a story he's been writing himself for a long time. Kimmel reaches for the next topic. He talks about the film industry, how everything's changed, how stars now come from videos and movies from algorithms. He asks Depp if he feels like an artifact. The word lands softly, but it sinks like a stone in the room. Depp tilts his head slightly, as if examining the remark under a microscope. He doesn't answer right away, only after a pause, as if he decided silence here would be too loud. He says artifacts are preserved because they're reminders. That memory, even an inconvenient one, is more important than novelty that's easy to use. He says being inconvenient might be the last real thing left in this craft. Kimmel nods, but his face is sterner. He tries to regain his rhythm. He brings up the past years, carefully, veiled, talks about a time of silence, how the public split, how image became a battlefield, not a reflection. He calls it a tough period, as if it's weather, not a shattered life. Depp looks straight ahead. At that moment, the whole room seems to shrink. He's not angry. He's not defensive. He just says tough periods aren't when people talk about you. They're when they don't let you speak. That the worst isn't being accused. The worst is being cut out. From the airwaves, from life, from the conversation. A murmur. Not sharp, but palpable. A few clap. Not because they agree, because they feel the weight. Kimmel notices the audience's shift. He tries to regain neutral ground. He talks about recovery, how everyone deserves a second chapter. His voice sounds like a priest reading a text he no longer believes. He says, maybe that's the point of the show, to give a voice to those who've lost it. Depp smiles, but it's a strange smile. No warmth, just a thin, almost bitter irony. He says voices aren't given by shows, but by people. That a mic without ears is just a prop. Kimmel leans back. The cards in his hand no longer matter. He doesn't look at them. He looks at Depp, intently, almost studying him. He says if Johnny wanted, he could tell everything right now, once and for all. Clear the air, share his version, say what everyone's been waiting for. Depp slowly turns his head to him. His gaze isn't aggressive, not evasive, just steady. He says truth isn't what you say when you have a mic. Truth is what you say when you know they won't believe you anyway. And you say it regardless. The audience's reaction fractures. A few shout, "Yes!" Someone yells, "I still won't buy a ticket." One man claps until his hands crack. Kimmel signals security. Don't act, but stay close. Two are already by the stage, standing, barely breathing. Kimmel changes tactics. He starts talking about cinema as art, asks if Depp thinks an actor bears responsibility. That maybe truth lies in not being the center of attention. That maybe strength is in leaving the stage. Depp doesn't respond right away. He stands, not abruptly, just stands, as if he decided long ago. He says the stage isn't a place, it's a choice, and he's already left before. But it seems someone forgot to turn off the lights. Pause. The audience doesn't breathe. Depp walks to the edge of the stage. Cameras follow. One guard takes half a step, but Kimmel stops him with a gesture. Depp turns back, says he didn't come to start a fire. He came to remind that a person isn't an image, that truth isn't a trend, that a voice, once taken, sounds different when it's reclaimed. And he sits again, not leaving, just sits, because the stage is still his. Because maybe he is the stage now. The lights tremble. Producers shout, the director yells to cut the feed, but the camera keeps rolling. And what comes next isn't an interview, it's a choice. After his words, the audience doesn't move. Depp is back in the chair, but now all the weight in the room is on him. He's silent, but his pause is stronger than any line. The director, through earpiece, whispers to keep the shot. Kimmel looks at his cards, but doesn't read. He's gathering a phrase not for the show, but to pull himself back into the broadcast. He says honesty matters, but there's a format. That viewers didn't come for a confession. That this is Jimmy Kimmel Live, not a courtroom. His voice is firmer than before. It sounds like a warning. Depp doesn't look away. He says formats are convenient. He tried being a format. It didn't work. He says if he wanted to be convenient, he'd be at home, or in a perfume ad. The audience starts to stir. Kimmel nods, strained. He says it's hard for viewers, that everyone has traumas, and you shouldn't storm a late-night show like the world owes you. He adds that sometimes silence is the best thing you can do. Depp smirks, just once, quick, and says it's because of silence he nearly vanished, that he stayed quiet while headlines were written for him, and now, when he speaks, they tell him to shut up again. He asks, "Is it convenient? When I'm quiet, is that convenient?" The audience reacts. Applause, muted but strong. Someone stands, shouts from the middle, "Let him speak!" Others whistle, interrupt. Cameras pan the rows. One guard has a radio to his ear. The other keeps distance but is tense. Kimmel loses his rhythm. He says he doesn't understand what the guest wants anymore. He asks why he came. If not for the film, not for forgiveness, not for dialogue, then for what? Depp stands, smoothly, not threateningly, just stands, and says, "To show I'm still here, not in articles, not in memes, here." The audience erupts. Cameras shake. Producers wave frantically. The director, in earpiece. Cutaway, prep commercial, Plan B. Kimmel stands too. His face pales. He says he has no choice. The broadcast is falling apart. If he doesn't stop this, it'll stop him. Depp steps forward. He doesn't look at Kimmel. He looks at the audience. The camera says, "I didn't come for a win. I came for a voice, and I won't leave until it's heard." Security moves closer. One step, then another. Kimmel raises a hand, but producers are already signaling, "Cut, kill it, pull it." The audience doesn't listen. Someone shouts, "You're right." Another, "Get out." A battle line forms in the rows. People yell at each other. A woman waves her arms like she's pleading with her son. Someone films on their phone. Someone tears a sign from their neighbor. Kimmel shouts for calm. His voice cracks. He turns to Depp again, says he's ruining the show, that he's a guest acting like the host, that this isn't a stage for statements. It's late-night TV. Depp turns his head to him. His face stays calm. He says the show was ruined by those who decided how a person should speak to not scare advertisers. He says real stages are the ones you can be kicked off. Everything else is just set dressing. Security steps closer. One speaks into a radio. Another locks eyes with a producer. The audience is nearly unmanageable. Someone tries to rush forward. Cameras pull back to avoid faces. The studio sways. Kimmel shouts again, demands order, says they'll go to commercial, and it'll all reset. He begs Depp to sit, says if he doesn't, it's over. Depp steps to the stage's front edge. He speaks, not into the mic, just aloud. His voice carries because no one else is speaking. He says this is the end of compliance, the end of silence. He says they're used to guests who fear losing their jobs, but he's already lost everything he could. He has nothing left to lose. Kimmel turns away, mutters something off to the side. A producer waves, "Stop, cut." The lights dim slightly. Cameras slowly pull away. Depp stands, untouched. He takes one last step, not toward the exit, to the mic. The camera catches him full frame. He says, "You wanted to know where I've been. Here I am, not where it's convenient, where I'm heard." The lights go out. The noise remains. The show doesn't. The lights are out, but no one in the audience moves. Silence drapes the studio like a black veil. People don't know if the show's still on or if it's over. But Johnny Depp is still standing. Full height, center stage, under a half-light that lingers over him like the only living frame. He doesn't move, doesn't step away, stands straight, hands loose, gaze not at the audience or Kimmel. Nowhere. Straight into a camera that's no longer broadcasting but still rolling, in at least 30 phones raised from different parts of the studio. People film. They don't cheer. They don't comment. They just film. Kimmel stands by his desk. He doesn't try to salvage the show, doesn't raise his voice. His posture is steady, but his fingers are tense. He grips the desk's edge like it's keeping him anchored. Producers keep talking in his ear. One loudly demands Depp be removed. Another insists nothing be touched. Security is closer than before. 2 in black suits, 1 on each side of the stage, no more than 3 steps away. Another backstage, radio to mouth, exchanging looks with an assistant at the director's console. But no one acts. Depp speaks. No mic, no amplification. But his voice is clear. It reaches the back row. He says that while he was silent, others spoke for him. Invented, attributed, analyzed, rewrote. He says his name became a hashtag, not a voice. That he's not a hero, not a victim, not a product. Just a person they tried to cut out of the frame. The audience listens. There's more respect in this silence than in 1,000 likes. Some hold phones with both hands, eyes fixed. Others lower them to see without a screen. The room holds a ringing stillness. Even the producers hush. Depp continues. He says he doesn't care about justifications. He didn't come for applause. He doesn't need to be a role model. He needs to be himself. He says he'll no longer give his voice to any show that demands a script. He looks straight at the cameras, not the TV ones, at the audience's phones. He knows where the real recording will be. He knows who's making the broadcast now. Kimmel finally speaks. His voice is lower than usual. He says he doesn't run this show to kick anyone out. He didn't want it to end like this. He offers, if Depp wants, they can continue the conversation. Later, in a different format. Depp turns to him. Slowly. His gaze isn't hostile, just heavy. He says, later always means never. That if you're going to speak, it's now. That if truth is inconvenient live, then it's the real thing. Kimmel falls silent. For the first time this episode, he has no words. He sits, slowly, almost mechanically. The cards stay on the desk. He doesn't look at them. He doesn't look anywhere. Depp steps closer to the stage's edge. Cameras track him. He says every night these stages host actors, politicians, singers. They smile, tell stories, pretend everything's fine. He says that's the lie. That behind the smiles are exhaustion, fear, silence. He says he didn't come to entertain, but to remind what a person looks like when they have nothing left but truth. Noise starts at the back of the room. A few stand. Someone shouts, "Speak!" Another, "Get him out!" Guards move closer. One steps onto the stage but stops. The producer's look is clear. Not now. Depp stands still. He keeps speaking. He says if silence is punished and words get you kicked out, you need to speak louder. He says this isn't a performance, not a moment, not a comeback. It's a person with no filters left. The audience stirs. Some clap standing. Some leave. People talk out loud. Cameras shake. One viewer runs into the aisle, shouting, "This is real TV!" They're pushed back. Kimmel stands again. He looks at the audience, then at Johnny. His face is lifeless. He says, "You got what you wanted. It's being recorded. You did it." Depp doesn't answer. He turns to the audience, extends a hand, not for goodbye. Just a gesture, like he's given all he could. He says, "I'm not afraid anymore, because when you lose everything, you finally hear how you really sound." And he walks, slowly, unhurried, past security, past cameras, past desks, toward the exit, in complete silence. No one stops him. No one claps. He leaves not as a victor, as a man who took back his voice. When he disappears backstage, the audience remains standing. Some don't know what to do. Some just stay silent. Kimmel steps to the mic. His face is still. He says, "Thank you for being with us. The show happened." And he leaves. In the comments, tell us whose side you're on. Jimmy Kimmel for order, format, and control. Or Johnny Depp for voice, risk, and truth without a script. Would you stay silent? Or say everything you've held back? Right, we're reading.